The agenda for today is to give you a brief introduction with some practical info. And then I will explain the changes that are made to approvals, and we will also spend some time on a live demo in RamBase. My name is Henrik, and today we are going to focus on the new application for configuration of approvals. Note that this webinar will be recorded for training purposes. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask by using the chat functionality, or save them till the end of the session. I will also kindly ask you to mute yourself during the presentation and unmute by the end if you have any questions or comments. So, what has been done to the approval configuration process is mostly just to make it available to everybody and not just the personnel in RamBase. We have already converted all your data into this application, so everything should work as before. Note that the names have been generated automatic. Some have a star, meaning that there are more restrictions that are not described in the name. You are free to change the name on these rules, but I would recommend having rules with descriptive names. In this new application, you will be able to configure restrictions for the selected approval type. The restrictions define when the personnel assigned to this approval rule can approve this type. You will also be able to add limit, which is when the approval rule will kick in. This is done for each type. You could enter different rules for requisition items, procurement items, and supplier invoice items. When requesting approval, everything will be as before, except you could get the role as an option, and can choose people that are assigned to this role, and the person will receive the requested approval. There is also added an option to have a default approver on each approval rule, and this person will be on top of the list of approvers to be selected when requesting approval. The permission to create and configure the approval rules can be found on the duty Maintain Company Approval Configuration, which is added to the new role Superuser. There are some company settings that you can manage yourselves. These are the value that the approved amount could change before you will need to request a new approval. And one of the settings are in local currency and the other one is in percentage. The setting with the smallest amount is always applicable. In addition to the company settings, each user can manage when they would like to receive IMS, and you can choose if you want IMS when you are requested for approval or when your request is approved. And now I will show you the main functionality of this application in the system. The approval configuration can be found under Admin, Approval Administration, and Approval Configuration. In this application, you can see all the approval types. The approval types that are grayed out are not activated for this company. You can control this yourself by going to the approval type you would like to disable or activate and press the edit setting for disabling approval type. This type have now been activated for this company. The approval types have different statuses based on if they need attention. If there are rules that are created and not registered, or if there are no rules registered. So here, this one has one rule under that needs to be registered, and this one has a rule that is not, no rule is configured yet. The approval types that most of you are using are requisition items, expenses, and procurement items. And under these types, you could have many rules. It's possible to see here. These rules have an additional possibility where you could manage restrictions. Other types do not have this possibility here. If we see on this one, it does not have the possibility here. I will create a new rule under procurement items. The new rule will go from 10,000 to 99,999. You have two possibilities. You could either copy this one and change the name, or you can just add approval rule here. Then you enter into the restrictions, and then you select which one from which value this rule should be valid from. So 10,000 and up to less than 100,000. There are also possibilities to add department and account as well. In addition to this, a limit should be added if it's the first rule you are registering. As we can see here, limit is already added for this type, and limit is the value that the approval should kick in. So here you will need to approve if the amount is over 0 crowns or 0. And then we can activate this one. You can add a user. Then you have the option here to put this as a default approver. And there's also a possibility to add the role here. I will add the role purchaser. And there's also a possibility to have different limits on procurement items and these other two. So we see on the requisition items, the limit is 999. Now when I have created a new rule, we can move to a purchase order. And I will show you how to request approval from the role I added. See, this one is, this item here needs to be approved. Press here, request approval, and then you can either just choose a person here, or you can choose from people that have this role. That was all I wanted to show you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask.